In the United States, someone has a heart attack every 40 seconds, and one person dies every 33 seconds from cardiovascular disease. Now, these are direct quotes from the CDC website. It is a very scary situation when you see someone who looks to be in excellent physical shape, lean, seemingly good diet and no prior medical problems, suddenly develop severe heart disease or even die from a heart attack or a stroke. And if you look around, these tragedies seem to happen with higher frequency each year. The silent killer that we often identify too late and that may increase every year in our blood vessels is arterial plaque. Arterial plaque is a buildup of substances like fat, cholesterol, and other materials in the walls of your arteries. Over time, this plaque can narrow your arteries, reducing blood flow and leading to conditions like a heart attack or a stroke. But did you know that not all plaque is created equal? So there are two main types of plaque, soft plaque and calcified plaque, and let's break them down. Soft plaque is made up of fatty substances that are more flexible, liquid, and prone to rupture. When soft plaque ruptures, it triggers a clotting cascade in the artery where activated platelets and other substances can form a blood clot obstructing the artery. And depending on location, this can lead to a heart attack or a stroke. And this makes soft plaque much more dangerous than its calcified counterpart. So calcified plaque, on the other hand, forms when minerals like calcium deposit in the plaque. Now, while it still narrows the arteries, calcified plaque is much harder and less likely to rupture. We often refer to this as stable plaque. But even though it's less dangerous in that sense, it still contributes to atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of your arteries, and can at least contribute to conditions like high blood pressure. So how can you know if you have arterial plaque and how severe it is? So there are a few key tests available to check for the health of your arteries, but they are by no means perfect, and they may in fact give you a false sense of security. The most common one that you may have heard about is a coronary artery calcium scan. Now, this is a CT scan that looks for calcium deposits in your coronary arteries, so in the arteries of your heart, right? A higher calcium score indicates more plaque. But keep in mind that this test is only good at detecting calcified or more stable plaque, which is less of a risk for cardiovascular events. What is worse, in my opinion, is that it may mislead you to think that positive lifestyle and nutrition changes that you have made were not successful. Let me explain this. So let's say you had a coronary artery calcium scan that was significant to some degree for plaque in your arteries. When you improve your diet, exercise, you lose weight, and use supplements that have shown to improve this condition, and then a year later, you repeat the scan and find out that the amount of calcium found in your arteries has increased. And this happens sometimes. Now, while this sounds bad, it may actually be a good thing. As mentioned before, soft plaque is the more dangerous plaque as it can rupture and cause blood clots. Now, if through your intervention, some of the soft plaque has now calcified and become stable plaque, you actually have improved the overall condition of your arteries. On the other hand, if your coronary artery calcium scan is negative, or at least very low, you may have a false sense of security because you may still have a significant portion of soft plaque. And again, this cannot be detected by this test very well. So in my opinion, the scan is only moderately helpful here. Now, another test that I much prefer is called the Carotid Intima Media Thickness Test, or CIMT. This test uses ultrasound to measure the thickness of the walls of your carotid artery in your neck. Now, it's a great indicator of early plaque buildup and the overall health of your arteries, including actually your coronary arteries, so the arteries of your heart. And the reason this test is done in the carotid arteries of your neck is that this area is much more accessible to the ultrasound device than the arteries of your heart, which of course are much deeper in your chest cavity. Now, the idea here is that if you have some degree of arterial plaque buildup, it will not be limited to the heart, but also detectable in other arteries. Now, this test is a non-invasive procedure that uses ultrasound technology. It is the most reasonable test for atherosclerosis or arterial plaque, and it's widely available. Unfortunately, insurance generally will not pay for this test, but depending on where you go, the cost should be relatively low, in the order of $200 to $300. Now, that being said, in my research for this video, I called one of the more known hospitals here in the Los Angeles area that does these exams, and their cash quote was $1,000. Now, they did admit that they are significantly more expensive than other places. So if you're interested to do this test, I would definitely call around and get a quote. And then there's, of course, the cardiac stress test, which is also known as an exercise stress test. You see people running on the treadmill and, being hooked up to an EKG monitor, right? Now, this test monitors your heart during exercise, revealing how well your heart functions under stress and how your arteries handle blood flow when pushed to the limit. The limitation of this test is that it gives you no direct information about the type of plaque that may be in your arteries. And it's usually only sensitive to severe obstructions on the order of more than 50% or so. So only if you have a significant amount of buildup and obstruction in your arteries, will this actually be something that is diagnostic. And again, if your plaque buildup is less than that, it will most likely not show any abnormalities. So in my opinion, this is a less useful test from a practical perspective. Now, while testing is essential to understand the degree of plaque in your arteries, the real question is, how can you stop or even reverse this plaque buildup? Now, we will talk about some of the very effective supplements that can significantly impact the deposition of plaque in your arteries and potentially reduce it. But before we get to that part, I want to stress that the most powerful way to prevent and even reverse arterial plaque is through diet and lifestyle changes. And no supplement or medication can replace this. And the goal of these changes is to improve your blood sugars and your fasting insulin through a low-carb diet, eating a good amount of clean protein and replacing artificial seed oils with small amounts of olive oil, avocado oil, or even butter. The number one cause for arterial plaque formation is undetected early diabetes. And this, unfortunately, is a condition that happens in much younger years now in our population. And most people are not aware of this at all. That's why I would suggest that you test your hemoglobin A1C as well as a fasting insulin and a lipid panel on your blood tests that you should be doing routinely about every 6 to 12 months. Now, there are more tests that can be done, but these 3 tests are the most important ones, in my opinion, to give you a good idea about your metabolic health. Daily exercise of about 30 minutes is another very important factor to improve the health of your arteries. Okay, now what can we do in terms of supplements? First, there's Nattokinase, an enzyme derived from fermented soybeans. Now, it is known for its ability to break down fibrin, a protein involved in clot formation. It can help dissolve blood clots and prevent plaque buildup in your arteries. Now, the studies are very mixed here, I must say, and this may be due in part to dosing. So studies using 2,000 fibrinolytic units showed mild to moderate effectiveness in the improvement of arterial plaque, while a study using 10,800 fibrinolytic units showed significant reduction in the thickness of the carotid artery intima media and the size of the carotid plaque. A lower dose of 3,600 FU did not improve arterial plaque in this particular study. Now, I am currently taking 6,000 FU of nattokinase daily, and this is, of course, not medical advice. None of these supplements that we're discussing is something that you should just take without, of course, consulting a medical professional. Everybody can have a certain contraindication to any of these, and I think it's always good to check with a medical professional first. Next, there's vitamin K2. Now, this vitamin plays a crucial role in calcium metabolism. It helps ensure that calcium is deposited in your bones, not in your arteries, preventing calcified plaque buildup. Now, it does this by inhibiting the matrix GLA protein, or MGP, which inhibits calcium to deposit in your arteries. I frequently talk about the importance of vitamin K2 when you are taking vitamin D3. Now, vitamin D3 increases the absorption of calcium in the digestive tract, and that's essentially a good thing. However, if you don't have enough vitamin K2, then the calcium often doesn't know where to go and may deposit in your arteries, further contributing to arterial hardening and plaque formation. Now, besides preventing calcification of the arteries, vitamin K2 can also improve nitric oxide levels in the endothelial lining, so the inner lining, of the arteries, and thereby promote vasodilation, so a widening of arteries, and improve arterial elasticity. And these are 2 very important things for blood flow and for the prevention of buildup of plaque. K2 also has direct anti-cancer functions, and if you're interested in this, you should watch this video here. Now, I am currently taking 400 micrograms of vitamin K2, but I plan to increase this to 1 milligrams or 1,000 micrograms daily. Now, as mentioned before, you should always take vitamin K2 together with vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 has been shown to decrease inflammation in arterial walls, so it also has some positive effects on preventing plaque, right? And this can reduce the formation of arterial plaques, but also stabilize existing plaques and reduce the risk of plaque rupture. This is actually very important. It has, of course, many additional benefits, as I've outlined in this video here. Now, I currently take between 5,000 and 10,000 international units of vitamin D3 daily, and of course, as mentioned before, together with K2. Another very important supplement is Berberine, which is often used to improve blood sugars and insulin levels. It is also one of the supplements that can decrease the uptake of glutamine. Now, Berberine may significantly reduce the formation of arterial plaque by inhibiting the development of foam cells. And foam cells develop in the lining of the arteries during the early stages of arterial plaque formation. This is often triggered by macrophage activity here. Now, these cells greatly contribute to the instability of atherosclerotic plaque. They also contribute to inflammation in the arterial wall. And berberine can inhibit the development of foam cells, modulate the activity of macrophages, and suppress inflammation in the arterial wall. Berberine has been shown in studies to decrease the thickness of arterial plaque as well. I currently take 600 milligrams of berberine 2 times per day. Now, finally, I want to mention niacin, and this is a supplement that I am not currently taking. Now, niacin it's also known as vitamin B3, and it can help raise your good HDL cholesterol, which is actually very important in the prevention of plaque formation. It can reduce LDL cholesterol, and that's a bit more debatable, but it can also lower triglycerides. Now, all of these effects can contribute to a healthier cardiovascular system and reduce plaque formation, so there might be some benefit here. I did not find a sufficient amount of evidence that this is extremely helpful, and so it's one of the supplements that I'm currently not taking again. So by adopting a low-carb diet to improve markers of impaired glucose tolerance and incorporating supplements like nattokinase, vitamin K2, and berberine, of course, always check with your provider, you can take proactive steps to stop plaque formation and even reduce its size. But remember, lifestyle changes such as regular exercise, a low-carb diet, stress management are key to supporting your heart health and cannot be replaced. So thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone you think could benefit from this information. Also, don't forget to watch this video here about the role of vitamin D3 in the prevention and treatment of cancer, and this video here about the benefits of methylene blue.